guys, welcome to TailorMade Talks. Been a member with us in the past, a current member with us now. If you're a previous or current staff member and TailorMade as a company has positively affected you in any way, please comment below and let us know what impact we've had on your life. This is episode 7, the series we put together to help you guys, our audience, get to know our team and our clients a little bit better. Today with me, we have Paul O'Brien. Paul has been one of the longest standing, or is delighted to have you here for this chat today. First question, how did you come to work at TailorMade?
Well, it's a long story, but before TailorMade was even a concept, I was doing a PT course with Stan, and I went to Gavin to learn some of the movements that I wasn't as familiar with.
Yeah.
And when I was training with him above in ladies, well, you were upstairs doing physio at the time.
Yeah.
And I told him, you know, when you open a gym, Gavin, you're going to give me a job. And he did, and he did. So that was kind of the long of it. And
how did you actually find Gavin as a PT? You started with him as a PT client before TailorMade even existed. But how did you find him?
I just done a bit of Googling, seeing who was in the area, and Gavin was very active on Facebook at the time with his, if you remember back with with his Superman t-shirt.
I think he'd still be wearing that t-shirt if we weren't to pull it off him.
He absolutely would, yeah. And I'll never forget, because the first time I booked in for a session with him was specifically to learn the deadlift for my course. And I was booked in for 2 o'clock, and I arrived in the gym over in Extreme, and I was sitting on the bike for about 40 minutes, and about 20 to 3, Gavin came over and was like, "Were we doing PT today?" He'd lost his book, he says. He was out in the car eating a sandwich.
That's not like Gavin, because normally he's very...
He had lost his book that day, so people were just kind of walking in, he didn't know what was going on.
Class. So, yeah, you started with Gavin before TailorMade even existed, so you actually knew me and Gavin before the company was formed. So it's actually... this is going to be a really interesting interview, I think, and conversation, because you'll be able to give some insight that most people don't have. So obviously, you were training with Gavin, we opened up the gym, but you didn't start as a staff member straight away. Do you want to give just a piece of how that actually started?
At the time I was working in Aldi, and when you opened the gym, I'd moved with you to join as a member. And on the very first day after my session, Gavin says, "Hey, how'd you feel about the job?" And I was doing the mornings in Aldi from 6 until 2, and then I was driving straight here to the gym for 3 o'clock to work until 9, and yeah, that was the crack for the first week. And
so literally been with us since the second week we opened, I'd say.
Yeah.
Class. Yeah. We'll get into some of that stuff, like the journey of the last 6.5 years of TailorMade and you working with us in a minute. But before we do that, I just want to get into your background, right, and who was Paul growing up and all the rest of it, just to give as much detail as you can there. So, like, where did you grow up? What was, like, primary school like? Who was Paul in primary school?
In primary school, so I grew up in Kerry.
Kerry?
I went to St. Oliver's School in Clarny, and I was quiet enough in school, to be honest. I didn't really get up too much. I just wanted to go home and play with my friends. There's nothing really exciting from primary school, to be honest with you.
So that was primary school. So were you into sport in primary school? Were you not into sport? Just give us an idea of the kid growing up.
Like, when I was very young, I was part of Dr. Croke's GA club, but to be honest, I was never overly into it. Even at my wedding, Dad told a story. He was like, first time I saw him play, I knew.
He didn't have the hand.
So sport kind of fell out of my life very, very quickly. I ended up, joining a brass band and the Order of Malta, learning first aid and going to matches and things like that as the medics, and that was kind of the extent of my hobbies at the time. That was as close as I got to sport.
Brilliant. No, that's cool, because I think sometimes people look at people in the fitness industry and they think they've always been into sport, into fitness or whatever. So I think giving everybody's input is important. So that was primary school. Secondary school, where did you go to secondary school?
So more of the same. I went to St. Brendan's in Clarny. At the time it was called the SEM. Still no interest at all in sport. I used to forget my PE gear. I'd get my favourite teacher who'd sign me out of PE and say, "Paul doesn't have to do it today." And
that is gas.
I had no interest in. My mom's going to watch this, so I was brilliant in school. But I tended to, when I could get away with it, I'd skip a day. I'd go off into the woods or to the local field or something like that and spend the day hiding from the teachers. But so no interest in school. It was more the same really with the band and the Order of Malta, and that was kind of the extent of my hobbies.
Okay. Perfect. So wasn't really into sport in secondary school. Would you say you were bold in secondary school, or just like you skipped a bit but just didn't have an interest, was it? Or?
Yeah, I just didn't have an interest. I wasn't bold, quite enough in school. I just didn't really want to be there.
Yeah.
And that kind of carried over. I didn't really study or do my homework or things like that. But like I didn't act out or anything like that.
Yeah. Interesting. How did you? So that was through school. So you were just kind of finding your way. The hobbies were brass band, that sort of stuff. When did you decide? When you were doing your leaving cert, did you know what course you wanted to do, or did you just like how did you get into S&C in third?
So it was another 10 years before I did the S&C course.
Okay, good. So we filled that gap.
Doing my leaving cert, no interest whatsoever. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and that's probably why I had no drive in school. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And then I met Laura through the Order of Malta. And,
so was she in the Order of Malta as well?
Yeah. So we both ended up in positions in the Order of Malta where we were working with the kids, teaching them first aid and things like that. So we'd meet at events and stuff. And I moved up.
Was this in school or after school?
After school.
Okay, so this is after school.
I was 21.
What did you do straight from school? Like you finished your Leaving Cert?
So I'd started work at 16 in the Gleneagle.
Okay.
And I just worked there until I moved to Tip in various roles. I worked in the accommodation section. I worked in the pool as a pool boy and a lifeguard and things like that.
Okay, so that was from like 18 up
until 2021.
2021, and you met Laura, your now wife, through Order of Malta around that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And then when did you move to Tip?
So myself and Laura started going out at the start of the year when I was 20, and by November that year I was living in Tipperary
okay.
at the time. And every possession I had fit in the Micra.
Okay.
And, not a Micra, no, sorry. What was it? I forget the name of it. It was one of the small cars anyway. Corsa, Opel Corsa.
Yeah.
Laura had the Micra, and I moved up, and that was kind of when I started getting into sport, because Laura was a black belt in Taekwondo, and I said, this seems kind of fun, I'll take it up, and that kind of kick-started it.
Lovely. So did you move in together in Tip? Was she living out of home or in home? Or?
No, she was still living with her parents, and my mother is from Thurles anyway, so I moved in with my grandparents out in Littleton, and I lived with them for 3-4 years.
Class. And then you and Laura moved in together?
Yeah.
Unreal. So Taekwondo with Laura probably introduced you to Taekwondo.
Yeah.
Where did college and S&C start?
So I'd always wanted to do something, I just didn't know what I wanted to do, and I originally had started college as a mature student to be a secondary school teacher for history.
Around what age were you? 20?
This would have been around 25, 26.
Okay.
And I didn't get the grant, and that was kind of the end of that, because I was working in a low-wage job out in the horse and jockey in the bar. And then I found the Setanta course, and I'd kind of been on my own weight loss journey at the time through the taekwondo and walking and running and things like that.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to I thought this seems cool, maybe I can help other people do it as well. And it was an online college, so there was no commute. I could work full-time and still do the course, which was really beneficial for me, because at the time I'd given up working in the jockey and I'd went working part-time elsewhere to look after my granddad. So I was still living with them, looking after him with Parkinson's and stuff like that, and it just was an easy course to do online that I could work around life.
Unreal, and that's what I want to get into. So it was Taekwondo, it was a bit of fitness. Did you start gym training off the back of that? Or where did I'm trying to bridge that gap between the Taekwondo, like not playing sport in school, getting into the Taekwondo side. Where did the fitness thing start?
So just from the weight loss itself.
Okay, and did you lose the weight Taekwondo?
I lost the weight from Taekwondo, running, walking, just being active in general, because at the time I was after going part-time. So I had all the time in the world to exercise around looking after granddad.
And you lost a considerable amount of weight through that period?
About 4.5 stone, yeah.
Okay.
And I thought I wanted to help other people do it, and doing a course seemed like the best way to do it. And that's how I ended up looking up Gavin, because I wanted to learn the things that I didn't know yet for the course.
Class. So it's funny, because a lot of people in the fitness industry, I think, get into it from doing it themselves, and then the natural progression is a PT course of some sort to I want to do this as a career. And that was kind of the way you came into it, which is interesting. So studied in Setanta, got your degree in S&C, but before you got the degree, you started PTing with Gavin.
Yeah. So I didn't even have my degree when I started with TaylorMade. I came in as an intern about a year before I fully qualified, and went from there.
That's unreal. It's class.
Can I pause you for 1 second?
Yeah.
Just the mics are facing down to the ground, and I'm picking up levels. I can fix that in the editing process.
Perfect. Yeah. Do you want to pause it? So
I want to go anywhere.
obviously, I'll just touch on the course for a second. You have interest in school, kind of floated your way through it, I think would be fair to say. When you started the S&C course, did it spike your interest straight away? Was it a struggle? How did that?
No, by that stage, I was actually interested. So, and once I'm interested in something, I'll put the effort in, I don't know if you know this, but about 6 months after I started with TaylorMade, myself and Laura got married. I moved to Italy, and there I was. Laura was gone off shopping in Sorrento, and I was there and I was doing my fucking assignment and doing this on the train between different cities and the honeymoon and things like that.
So you wouldn't have done that if you didn't enjoy it?
No. Because one of the things with the course that was really good for people as well is that you do it in 3-month blocks. You can take as many breaks as you want. But I was just mad to get that degree and start working. So.
And it was the 4-year degree in S&C with Setanta?
Yeah. Cool. So there I was on honeymoon doing assignments.
Class. I think that's a brilliant background. So it gives an idea of where you grew up, primary school, secondary school, how you moved to Tip, working hospital, bars and restaurants, transitioned then into doing a course, doing Gavin, becoming a gym member with us, and then we hired you as a coach. I've gone to your career with us in a minute, but brings me to the next point. So you started with us a week after being a member, you were hired as a coach. Let's start there, right? And let's go through the entire progress of the last 6 years of a career with us, because I think people will be really, really interested to hear it. So back in those early days, 2018, I think it was just me, Gavin, on the floor. I think you were hired as our first coach hire, off coaching hours, so I could focus more on the business side of stuff. What was it like back then?
People here now wouldn't even recognize it as TaylorMade, but as an intern for that first week.
Yeah.
And
You were.
yeah, I was still working in Aldi at the time, and I've never forgiven Gavin for this, or you actually, but on my very first day coaching, the very first session you put me off to coach by myself was your mother. Anyone at the time, and I thought, geez, they're giving me the boss's mother to coach. It's lovely. The first few months were very interesting. At the time, sure, we were still learning the small group setup ourselves, and
Yeah.
we used to have a group of 6 people, and we'd split it into 2 groups because we thought, geez, there's 6 people in, it's mad busy.
Yeah.
You know, and like things have just changed an awful lot since then.
If you were to give like a whistle-stop tour over 2 minutes or so of every role that you've had from to now.
So I started off as an intern. He decided you needed someone, so he brought me on full-time then.
Yeah.
So I had a coach, and that kind of stayed the same until COVID. I think it was just,
So that was
coaching
all
full-time.
of 2018 and 19, coaching.
Coaching, and at the time we were doing, all of us, 5 splits every week and a Saturday, and it was just mad busy all the time. And after COVID, I came back for a little while as a coach, and then there was another lockdown, and kind of looking at how we could expand and set up for the expansion. And then you offered me the work from home job as marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing led into marketing, IT, sales, rosters, HR. I do a bit of everything now. It's hard to even put a title on it.
And I think what's important to note is you started as a coach, right? But from my perspective, you always lent your hand where we needed support. So I would say you're quite tech savvy, you're quite IT literate, you get software and stuff like that, which not everybody in fitness does. Some people are completely computer illiterate. So you were coaching, but you used to offer your services in terms of helping us with the website, helping us with a bit of marketing stuff, a bit of IT stuff, and there was times where we pulled you off the gym floor to sit in an office and do some of that stuff because you actually could do that stuff. And I think as a result of that, you kind of got less coaching over time and more of that stuff. Yeah.
I think some of it started off as, the jobs that had to be done that maybe you weren't fully sure how to do yourselves, and Paul figured out, because if I don't know, I can generally figure it out.
Yeah.
So I ended up looking after the website and things like that, and ended up doing all the coaching, and I was at the desk and things like that. So, and it just kind of transitioned over time to doing all of that stuff from home.
Yeah, and I remember COVID happened, which gave us all a break and be at home with family. And I remember having a conversation with you around that time, and the work, you didn't want to go back coaching 5 splits because you were enjoying the time at home. So I can't remember that exact conversation, but I think
at the time, it was along the lines of that, but Laura was pregnant again with Tig.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go back to 5 splits with a child at home.
Yeah.
And we went down then to myself and Ger doing 2 splits and things like that. And over time then, now the coaches only have splits and holidays and stuff like that. But for me, it was I just wanted to have more time at home with the kids. And the splits that we used to do would have meant no time with the kids, because I'd be back in the gym at 3 o'clock, now home till 9, things like that. So.
And I think from my perspective anyway, it was like, right, we have Paul who's been with us 2 or 3 years, valuable asset to the business, wanted to work from home. We didn't really have a work from home job, but I think we wanting to keep you with us and you wanting to stay with us, we kind of found our way.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I think you've always been open to doing stuff that would help the business regardless of whether you like to do it or not.
Yeah.
A marketing role went into all of the sales calls pretty much. So anybody that comes in, it's Paul that you speak to on the phone first. And then you allowed me to delegate a lot of stuff I was doing around rostering and bookkeeping and VAT returns and all of that stuff, which you now totally look after. The position you're in now is the result of always wanting to help and always stepping outside your comfort zone to do it. I think that would be fair to say.
Yeah. Especially, things like the sales roles. I remember when Gavin used to be trying to get me to do sales when we were all upstairs that time, and he'd give me the script and he'd sit down beside me and I'd have to ring people in front of him. And for about 4 years, I found reasons not to do the sales calls, but they got me in.
Yeah, as an introvert.
Yes.
The sales piece, because I think a lot of PTs would find this interesting. How do you view sales? I hate sales.
I suppose
Who now does sales for 5 of the gyms.
because, you know, before you get used to it and before you get in kind of space, you have this thing in your head of sales. Ah, we all hate sales people. I don't want to do
They're
sales.
sleazy and
It's a perception of sales, yeah. And when you're doing it, like realistically, I'm ringing these people that have asked us for a call who are looking for help, and I'm just reaching out to see how we can help them. That's all the sales are. You're just looking to see if you have a solution to their problems, and if you do, come on in, you know.
Brilliant. And I think, what was it that changed? I don't think your mindset changed like that, but it was an evolution of your mindset over time. Because I remember you wouldn't have even done an assessment. You were like, that's just not me.
Yeah.
How did that develop to where you are now with like exactly what you just said?
I suppose just more of an understanding of the role through familiarity in doing it. Like, you know, when I'm doing the sales calls and I'm talking to someone who's never been in the gym before, she's terrified, she doesn't want to come in, she's nervous, and you now walk into the gym and you see some of these people training, it's just like you realize how much you're actually helping them. It's not just, you know.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's brilliant. Say your role you've pretty much done every role within the business.
Yep.
Excited about it, because I know that you've never stayed in it. I think we're the longest job you've ever stayed in, right?
Yeah.
From what I understand, you've no plans on leaving us. What most about the future of TaylorMade, based on what you've seen us do over the last 6 years, and just where do you see things?
I suppose you know, from 6.5 years of me working here, I'm always looking for new things to try and to take on. And what I'm most excited about working at TaylorMade is that my job has never been the same from 6 months to the next. And it's just fun to see that rapid growth from, you know, one gym 6 years ago where we thought 6 people in a group was mad busy and we were going to be under fierce pressure to, you know, running our large group sessions now with 12 people and more in some of the gyms. And it's just that continuous growth and change and reiterating the product and reiterating how we do things, I just think has been class.
Brilliant. I think that keeps people excited too, because if things feel boring, like people do get bored. And like we're not doing it just to stay fresh, we're actually doing it to grow. But I think it's interesting to see your perspective on it.
I think if you want to do well last at TaylorMade, you have to be open to change.
Yeah.
Because it's not change for change's sake. We're looking at things and how can we make that better as a system or for the clients, and then we'll try it. And if it doesn't work, we'll try something else, and we'll try something else until we nail it. But if you just stay the same, we'd still be one gym upstairs.
100%. Love it. I think that can move us on lovely, because we just mentioned clients. I know the gym floor anymore. I would coaching role, because I see you as a senior figure within our organisation and probably a mentorship capacity to a lot of our staff, including our coaches. So I still see you as a coach in many ways on the sales calls or coaching calls to get people in. It is a bit of coaching. You're a senior figure that people look up to within the business. Just tell us a memorable client story or a few client stories that you've been part of for those 2 or 3 years where you were on the gym floor. Or even some ones now that maybe you're indirectly part of.
I think for me, there's always, you know, those clients who hit their, they've been aiming for ages, and they're really fun stories. Changed their lives, like Eilish, in person, and when she came into the gym, they're class stories. But my favorite has always been working with people that the gym, and slowly it becomes part of their routine, and they realize actually we do like the gym. We just didn't like the thought of going into the gym.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, she was doing her assessment. She told Gavin, "I'm only staying for a week and I'm gone. That's it. I'm doing that week trial and I'm gone."
Yeah.
And that week has been going 4.5 years now. So I love seeing people become comfortable in the environment that we provide for them.
Class. Love that. And I think are exceptionally empathetic towards those people as well, right? I think you just have that EQ. It's back to yourself too, because you wouldn't have done sport in school. Anybody who does enjoy doing the training over in Thurles and the gyms. A little bit of background of your own training journey. I know we mentioned you didn't do sport, got into Taekwondo, lost 4.5 stone, but how has your training journey evolved around work, kids, different life things that have happened where you are now? Because I think the people that are sitting on the couch right now doing nothing will get something from this, but also people that just don't like the gym and maybe have a similar story.
Like, I originally lost that 4.5 stone, I think up in when we first opened, in between my split shifts, and stronger, and it was cool, you know, to start hitting those milestones. I haven't beaten him yet, but the plan is to beat Gavin in the bench. And 2019, my wife and I lost a baby. I'd gone from, you know, being very unfit to running 11K, setting PRs and all the lifts to just stopping. I didn't care for probably 2 or 3 years after it.
Yeah.
It took an awful long time to come back, and I have 2 little kids, and kind of gone south in terms of the weight and my own strength and things like that and how I felt. It was a struggle to find the time because, they're both under 3. The sleep isn't fantastic.
Yeah.
It's busy day because I do my work in the morning. In the evenings, we're trying to get dinners and bedtime and baths. At the end of the day, I had to get healthier for them. I can make excuses as to why I can't go to the gym, or I alarm and just get up and go to the fucking gym.
Yeah.
And that's where it is. It's more like a discipline thing. It's not a motivation thing. It's something I have to do. I have to be healthier for my children.
Yeah.
So now back training over in Thurles. I'm trying to go 4 times a week to sessions, 1 cardio session, to have health and fitness. And to be honest, I'm having a blast. All the coaches in the company are brilliant. I've mixed up my sessions throughout different gyms.
Yeah.
And the fact that the sessions are only 45 minutes as well. This is sounding very salesy, but the fact that it's only 45 minutes means that I can get up, get a session and get home, get the kids up for school and go.
Yeah.
It's really easy to force that into my routine and just make myself do it.
And I don't want to go back there too long, but when you and Laura lost, I think it's important to note that sometimes stuff happens in your life that's really tough and hard. There's other people as well that are going along fitness and then they hit some form of something happens. Kind of advise people to do, obviously it took you 2 or 3 years to get your head back around, I need to start looking after myself. Is there anything that you would back then, now, from an empathetic point of view, to not be so hard on yourself or whatever? Because now you're back on the horse and you're going well.
So I literally on trips to England for the stuff and to learn stuff about business, and something they said recently really, really resonated with me. And myself and Laura would stay in bed all day. We didn't give a shit. We'd watch TV all day.
You were obviously grieving.
Grieving, and it was nothing. We'd go for a daily walk, get a coffee. That was about it. Go back and go and watch TV and eat takeaways and that kind of stuff. That's not. We all tell ourselves when we're doing these kind of things that it's self-care. But over at this event, they kind of made a point that really, really resonated, that it's not self-care, self-soothing. Self-care is doing the things that would have gotten us right, which is, the exercise, going training, going for a walk, longer walk, not just down to the coffee shop, things like that. Self-care is not self-soothing. Self-soothing is not self-care. I just thought, if I could go back, I'd probably try and get out of that rut that I put myself into for 3 years.
Put yourself into it, but...
No, I think the path of least resistance, which at the time was doing nothing because you just don't feel like anything.
Yeah.
And even knowing this, if I'd known all of this back then, I don't know, would it have changed anything? Because you're in where you just simply do not care.
Yeah.
I think it's very important to know that distinction between self-care and self-soothing.
I think people are going to find that really valuable. Being through that period, course now and absolutely flying it. About the health and fitness side with work, does working with us help that? In encourage that? You've been trying to give me a kick up the hole for 3 years anyway. I think
in a nice way.
Just on that, and it's interesting for me to listen to that. And I think I kind of gave you a firm kick.
You did,
more recently, but I probably should have done it sooner.
Probably, yeah.
And it's not trying to be too nice.
We'd had conversations about it. I've always been on the same page that I know what I should do.
Yeah.
It was just that kick to actually get up and go and do it.
Class. I think people watching this could be a kick for a lot of people as well. So
hopefully.
Thanks for sharing that. We're going to stay on the training philosophy for a second. Running our business, working in our business, busy dad. How do you see training now? Is it more for longevity, performance? It's just part of your life? What's your thought process around it now?
Yeah, it's just to be part of my life. I want to be strong, healthy, but I don't have a set target in mind, really. I joke about wanting to be Gavin, but all I want to do is to be able to play with the kids for as long as possible, and hopefully many years down the line, my grandkids, and not to be, older people that can't get up off the couch,
Class. Love it. Brilliant. We'll move on now to give people an insight as to what it's like to work at TaylorMade. I know we've touched on some of it. Perspective. Could you describe the development opportunities at TaylorMade? You mentioned going away to events and different things. Just from your perspective, what's it like? Because you've worked at loads of jobs.
Yeah. So there's always been a TaylorMade to develop. You've always put a lot of value in books and podcasts and learning. And in the last years, we've started going over to England to those events. And we're always looking at new events. We've gone to sales events. There's always been a big focus on learning, and you're always good to provide opportunities to go and do that. And I think like this next trip, for example, all of the head coaches are going.
Tasha's coming.
And Tasha.
Yeah.
So there's
I wasn't going, it was so tricky. It was, oh no, I know that's that thing.
Yeah, no,
I said, you better ask him. 'cause
you're
like,
definitely booked.
it's just development and progression has always been important to TaylorMade.
Cool. Brilliant. I'm going to move on to a couple of quick fire questions,
Well.
and then we'll finish up. What is life achievement to date?
Achievement to date. To be honest, I love being a dad.
Yeah, class. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I've always wanted to be a dad, so
Being a dad.
I love it. Yeah.
Love it. Being staff in TaylorMade, each of us are different and have our own views and different things in the world. But if you were to pick one person within staff that currently work in TaylorMade, I mean, you admire, but if you could pick one that you admire, and why you admire that person.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, there are numerous people I could pick, and the easy choice would be the likes of yourself or Gavin, but
Yeah.
I'm going to go out left field a bit, and I'm actually going to say Dylan Dorney. Because in the last year, he's gone from someone who is really struggling in the role, he didn't mind me saying that because he knows it's true, to someone who's really developed all of that feedback he's had, and he's just a different man now than he was at the start last year.
Class. I think we'll touch on that for a second, because I think you see this all the time, right? It's like in business and professionally and even with fitness, it's like you can get to a stage where things are really, really hard and you're almost hitting this ceiling of maybe your skill set or your mindset or whatever, and it can feel really frustrating. I think Dylan got there, and myself and Gavin wanted the business to perform, so we applied pressure. The easy thing for Dylan and for all of us to do is to retrace back and back into the comfort zone. To be fair to him, he got through that ceiling and now he's soaring.
Yeah.
And I think that's just something that we admire among mindset and staff, because me and Gavin feel it in business. Like, we get to a stage where the business is just stuck, and you've seen this many times, where we're like, we need to solve a problem, but we just don't have the skills or whatever. But if you just stop being a little bitch and just like stay there and work your way through it, like, huge things can happen, and you've done that loads of times as well. So I think that's...
Yeah, I think if you can hold tough, like even when you are struggling with the job, figure out a way to get through it, and then once you learn from it, you have the next problem. But and Dylan, that he got through that blocking point where he was for ages, and is just flying it now.
Perfect. Opportunity to ask me something, right? We've done this with Luke and it worked really well. Is there anything that you would like to ask me that you haven't had the opportunity to ask?
Try and think of a question. If back to day one at TaylorMade, how do it differently?
Really good question.
Because we have made a lot of mistakes over the years and learned from them. But
yeah, we've made so many. I would have done differently if I had the knowledge that I have now. But back then, I didn't know what I didn't know, so I regret anything, right? And me and Gavin spoke about this 2 weeks ago, because if I did anything differently, we wouldn't be where we are. And I'm quite proud of where the business is at, the foundation we've laid, the trajectory we're on, how things are. So it's done. If I had the information now, like loads, like the model would have been different from the start, the price point would have been different from the start, the branding would have 100% been different from the start, the gym layout would have been different, how we do an org structure, how we do roles and responsibilities, how we pay our staff. I would have done all of that differently.
It's funny that you mentioned the structure, because when some of the coaches have no idea the chaos that used to be upstairs. And we'd have 30 people in if we'd be trying to work around myself and Jer and the S&C and sort of things going on at the same time.
And I think also for myself and Gavin, because we had no roles and responsibilities, me and Gavin were falling over each other quite a lot.
Yeah.
And we'd both be doing the same job, so it'd be double jobbing. We're more organised. You've got your job description, I have mine, Gavin has his. We all have our own parts of the business, and it's much easier. So there's loads I would have done, but if I probably can't say I would have done anything, because I'm happy with where we're at. So I think that was a really good question.
Yeah.
Paul, it was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Delighted to have you on. I had to drag him on. But if you're somebody watching this that you're thinking about joining us as a client, please reach out, apply to our site or DM us on Instagram. Paul will then give you a call, and we'll take it from there. As we've made in previous episodes, we are planning on opening up a few more gyms next year. So if you're a PT, aspiring PT, that is looking for a career in fitness or looking to work with us, please make yourself known to me, Gavin, or the team. Other than that, I just want to say thanks very much, Paul.
Thank you.
Excellent. Been a member with us in the past, a current member with us now. If you're a previous or current staff member and TaylorMade as a company has positively affected you in any way, please comment below and let us know what impact we've had on your life.